We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the stories making headlines. 49 people have died due to inclement weather in the Eastern Cape since Monday.
There are 68 schools that have been affected. Assessments are continuing to be done to verify the extent of the damage.
KwaZulu-Natal authorities say that the southern areas of the province were the hardest hit by the recent inclement weather, which disrupted daily life. The South African National Defence Force has announced that its first group of soldiers who were deployed in the eastern DRC will finally come home this coming Friday. Good evening and a warm welcome to Prime News on 3. I am Paulette Nell. It's an absolute pleasure to be in your company this evening as we bring you the latest news happening in and around your world. Let's start first with this. The death toll linked to the storm that hit the Eastern Cape is currently sitting at 49. The OR Tambo area of the province has been hit the hardest. Residents of Dikoli in Mthatha area are the worst affected. Houses in the location were submerged in water with the residents trapped inside their homes.
The stats has escalated to 49 as per the South African Police Services. So as we said, the numbers are just escalating. We are all on the ground assessing the damage to support relief operations and engage directly with affected families, as we are now from 2 centers where we are interacting with our people who are currently kept in those centers. We reiterate our deepest condolences to the bereaved families and call on residents to remain vigilant and follow guidance from the local disaster management teams. In the Amatole district, heavy rains have led to the displacement of hundreds of our residents from informal settlement, particularly in the area of Butterworth, Mnguma, with many relocated to temporary shelters. The severe weather has also caused power outages across several areas in the district. A coordinated and multidisciplinary emergency and rescue services team has been deployed and remain actively involved in the recovery, evacuation and support efforts across the affected areas in the province.
Meanwhile, KwaZulu-Natal authorities say that the southern areas of the province were hit the hardest by the recent inclement weather, which disrupted daily life. Heavy snowfall in Krok in the Johannesburg forced the closure of roads on Tuesday, while gale force winds swept through many parts of the province, causing widespread damage.
Yesterday, due to the weather condition, we experienced a lot of wind and the ladies' dormitories was damaged. And they do not have the space to live, but we've arranged with the parents to come and collect their learners.
The damage that was caused by this heavy wind yesterday is extremely big in this ward. I think it's the first time we experience something of this nature. Our schools are heavily affected, our household are heavily affected, so almost everything is in this ward is affected by this heavy wind that we experienced yesterday, even today.
In the Eastern Free State, communities say they are still adjusting to the icy cold winter weather conditions. Despite the slight improvement in temperatures, some areas are still feeling the effects of snow in the Maluti Mountains.
With the winter season still in its early days, communities are well aware that they need to prepare for the next cold spell. They say they were forced to spend more money to create the means to fight off the cold spell. The previous days it was extremely cold. We were not spared either, including the school-going children. It was not nice at all.
No, it was not nice at all. The rain and snow were not good for us. I spent a lot of money on electricity, using the heater and water bottle, and it affected school-going children.
Meanwhile, the Maluti Apofung municipality in Krok says it has procured 37 additional transformers to mitigate the effects of severe winter, as the number of residents using electricity is expected to rise this time of the year.
We have actually invited ESCOM to come and collaborate with us, particularly on the issue of provision of electricity in this winter period.
The Thabo Mofutsenyane District Municipality says they started to organize themselves well ahead of the cold spell.
As municipalities or the provinces, ours is to ensure that we are having graders which will be able to clear the road should it happen that the prime fails. So we are doing that on yearly every year. This year we are even much more prepared.
The Thabo Mofutsenyane District Municipality Disaster Unit says they have joined forces with their KwaZulu-Natal counterparts in order to deal with the challenges, particularly on major national routes. Ishmael Mudiba, SABC News, Krok.
The South African National Defence Force has announced that its first group of soldiers who were deployed in the Eastern DRC will finally come home this Friday. The SANDF has been part of the SADC mission in Congo to restore peace and security in the eastern parts of Congo, but M23 and other groupings have since captured swaths of land in Congo. The SADC leaders decided to withdraw the mission to give peace talks a chance. The withdrawal of the SADC mission in the DRC has been conducted in a structured manner to ensure the safe return of South African troops and their military equipment. It has been a delicate process as they traveled with their armaments from Goma and Sake in the eastern DRC via Rwanda to Tanzania in Chato, which has been designated as the assembly location. They are expected to arrive at the Air Force Base in Bloemspruit in Bloemfontein, and the estimated time of arrival is at 12 midday on Friday. The troops will be welcomed by the Defence and Military Veterans Minister Njimu Tshekwa alongside the members of the Military Command Council. Welcome back. Let's continue with this. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has reminded members of the National Assembly that the budget he tabled before Parliament last month was not an austerity budget. This as some political parties debating the 2025 fiscal framework and revenue proposals in the House today rejected it, calling it an austerity budget that was not pro-poor.
Endorses the general fuel levy increase, which kicked in early this month. The increase was proposed by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana when he tabled the budget in Parliament last month. Godongwana says this year's budget proposal was a learning curve.
We have had a painful journey to arrive to this date where the fiscal framework is being approved.
Godongwana rejected the notion that this was an austerity budget, saying what the budget is trying to achieve is by how much it can be increased. Political parties that took part in the debate weighed in.
With this budget, government will make more efforts to improve people's lives and livelihoods because the ANC-led GNU, people come first.
Parliament Finance Committee and research think tanks advise that hiking fuel levy is the most regressive taxation system, far worse than VAT.
If there are individuals that still ask what we've attained in this government, what we dare dream to achieve in years ahead on this journey, let us put focus and point them to this fiscal framework.
The worst part of it is the amount of money you are going to generate from fuel levy is minuscule. If you were to compare it with the impact that it's going to have on the economy, the knock-on effect.
The question we should be obsessed about is not just GDP growth or actually looking at debt. We should obsess about the rate of investment in this country.
Despite the various opinions shared during the debate, Godongwana says the size of the debt is not the important factor, but the capacity of the economy to service it. Abra Barbia, SABC News, Parliament.
The Durban Deep community west of Johannesburg is calling for justice for the murder of 14-year-old Likhona Fose. This as the man accused of her murder appeared briefly in the Roodepoort Magistrates Court today. 39-year-old Mduduzi Mnisi is charged with murder and his case has been postponed to Wednesday next week for a bail application.
The community of Durban Deep held a picket outside court calling for justice for the brutal murder of Likhona Fose, whose mutilated body was found in the bushes not far from her home early this month.
Death sentence.
Even for the person who killed Likhona, he must tell us why he killed a young child. We are women, we are mothers. The pain that we feel, maybe the government doesn't understand our pain as women.
It needs to be stopped by us actual men. All the men of South Africa must stand up and say, not in my name. It can, if a child boy can say that, then everything will be sorted.
There is a lot that government of this country and the safety and security system has to look at. Then the government of this country has not to look in one direction, the killing of a child.
Mduduzi Mnisi made a brief first appearance in the dock. However, the matter was postponed to allow for further investigations.
Indeed, yes, the matter has been postponed to the 18th. It's to allow the state to conclude its investigation in respect of the bail application that the accused wants to bring before court. So it will include the profiling of the accused, checking whether or not he has any previous convictions.
Monique Lewis, SABC News, Durban Deep, Johannesburg.
The Minister of Home Affairs and the South African Police Service have argued that the allegations that they acted in collusion with Operation Dudula are reckless and unsubstantiated. They argued before the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg against the series of interdicts sought against it by civil society organizations in their legal challenge against Operation Dudula.
The Minister of Home Affairs has hit back at civil society organizations' allegations of collusion with Operation Dudula in their conduct against migrants in South Africa, which applicants argue is a quote-unquote systematic campaign of unlawful xenophobic action. The Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg heard that such a submission is quote-unquote reckless.
Imagine, my lord, that now you've got an order which says the minister has colluded. And what it means is that this is a rogue minister who collude with criminals, who collude with people who commit offenses, and therefore then he's a criminal. So before you make such an allegation, you sit back and you ask yourself, do I have evidence to even make this allegation? If you don't have evidence, like the applicant now tell the court that we don't have evidence, then such a submission is reckless.
A sentiment the South African Police Service has echoed, adding that it simply could not be substantiated, and in the absence of evidence, the court could not intervene.
My lord, unfortunately, like any other institution, I mean, there are pockets of places that are simply incompetent, and there are, like in any other institution, there are good apples and bad apples. The SAPS is no different. So on that score, where there was that kind of conduct was encountered, it was incumbent on the applicants, also as responsible inhabitants of the Republic, to report it.
Operation Dudula was not party to these proceedings, as they had failed to file a notice to oppose. Judgment was reserved. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Thank you for staying with us. Now on to this. The first sitting of the reopened inquest into the deaths of the Krok 4 wrapped up in the Gqeberha High Court. The inquest is examining the events surrounding the 1985 murders of anti-apartheid activists Matthew Goniwe, Fort Kalata, Spirom Konto and Sicelo Mhlauli, allegedly at the hands of the apartheid security police.
On the final day of the sitting, the court heard from the last surviving member of Matthew Goniwe's immediate family, his only son, Nyaniso Goniwe. He was 3 years old when his father was killed. He reflected on a lifetime of loss, describing the emotional impact on his childhood, his mother Nyameko Goniwe's life, and his sister's mental health, which he says deteriorated before her death last year.
And that's, I think, been the
unfortunate thing about these inquests, really people telling the truth, because we can't talk about forgiveness. We can't forgive at this point until we get the truth.
Goniwe rejected claims made by apartheid operatives during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that the 4 men were unconscious when they were killed. The final witness to testify was Charles Coetzee, a church minister who facilitated a rare meeting between Eric Taylor and the families of the Krok 4 in 1997.
The family can assist me there how many hours. And then Mr. Goniwe came forward, for instance, Alec, and he said with the hand to Mr. Taylor, I forgive you.
The inquest is expected to resume on the 13th of October. Sisi Pongumbe, SABC News, Gqeberha.
Time to check out the latest weather forecast. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at what to expect weather-wise for tonight as well as tomorrow. Clear skies through the central, western as well as the northern parts of the country. However, it will be partly cloudy over the southeastern and eastern parts. That's with some light showers and rain along the coastal regions of KwaZulu-Natal, stretching into the adjacent interior. Tomorrow, that band moving over the northern coastal regions of KwaZulu-Natal. Otherwise, it will be fine across most parts of the country. Just some early morning fog patches expected in places over the interior. Now, the South African Weather Service for this evening, warning of damaging winds and waves, a yellow level 4 warning of damaging waves along the coastal regions of KwaZulu-Natal, and a yellow level 2 warning of damaging winds in that same region, possibly leading to difficulty in navigation at sea. Overnight temperatures seeing 3 in Johannesburg, a -5 in Sutherland, 7 in Cape Town, while we're expecting an overnight low of 11 in East London. Tomorrow, expecting to peak at 20, will be a cool day in Port St. John's and Durban with 22. For us here in Johannesburg, a high of 16. Mahikeng peaking at 17. On to Friday, expecting fairly cold to cool conditions. It will be partly cloudy in places over the Eastern Cape and over the extreme northern parts of Limpopo. Otherwise, a fine day across most parts of the country. That's your weather. Do stay tuned to SABC News.
That concludes our time together this evening. Much gratitude for joining us from myself and the team. Until next time, it's good night and God bless.